Now for the special treat. Please welcome our good friend, the talented musician, songwriter, Niels Lund, who will be performing his very relevant Pain to Action Climate Medley. Hello, Niels.
Hello, everyone. When I see the sun shining bright and clear, I remember how it used to be before we had this fear. Now it's not the same. The earth is far too warm. The records show it's way above the norm. My love for the planet consumes me as it burns, defines me when the climate twists and turns. Coastal seas will rise and land will wash away. I remember how it used to be, but now it's day by day. People are on the move, seeking a higher ground. For many, nowhere to be found. My love for the planet consumes me as it burns, defines me when the climate twists and turns. When I read the news, predictions are confirmed. I remember how it used to be, and I think of what I've learned. It's very clear to see that science tells it true. The future now is up to me and you. Our love for the planet consumed us as it burns, defines us when the climate twists and turns. Defines us when the climate twists and turns. Very painful, of course. It's a painful song, but it inspires us to take action, right? So it's time to turn this thing around. It's time for feet on the ground. There really is no time to pause. It's time to stand up for the cause. So get together, one and all. Give our answer to the call. There really is no time to wait. Let's go before it is too late. It's time for action. It's time for movement. Let's get together. The time is now. It's time for action. It's time for movement. Let's get together. The time is now. The time is now. The time is now. Let's get going.
Terrific. Thank you very much, Niels. And now I'd like to turn things over to the NCCCA president, Carl Aldinger.
Everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. This is a special event. For me in particular, I had some burnout earlier this week with some really frustrating work that we've been doing with the state of California. So I really appreciate what's going on here tonight. Let me introduce our speaker. Margaret Klein Salamon, PhD, is a clinical psychologist turned climate activist whose work helps people to face the deeply frightening, painful truths of the climate emergency and transform their despair into effective action. She is the founder and executive director of Climate Mobilization Project, which advocates an all hands on deck, whole society mobilization to protect humanity and the living world from climate catastrophe. She's the author of Facing the Climate Emergency, How to Transform Yourself with Climate Truth, a radical self-help guide for the climate emergency. So with that, Margaret, if you could please take it away. Thank you.
Thanks so much, and thanks for having me. As mentioned, I am a clinical psychologist by training, but I just got totally freaked out 7 years ago and saw that there was a place for me in this movement, that I felt like there was something that I could do. And yeah, my life just completely changed. And I'm very glad it did. I'm here with Jessie Ann Baines. You want to wave, Jessie Ann? From
Hello.
Mobilization Project. She has been helping me with all kinds of ways of bringing the emotional and the psychological into this conversation where it so belongs and is so often missing. So thanks for being here, Jessie Ann. Thanks for your help. Tonight, we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to start with a writing prompt, and a short writing prompt, and then followed by sharing in small groups. And then we'll come back as a large group and share. We have that in theory, and I think we can make this work. We're going to do that process twice. Writing prompt, go into breakout groups and do a small group share, then come back and get some larger group feedback. So, and of course, I should say the topic is all about our feelings, how you feel about the climate emergency, and also we're going to get into some things about talking about the climate emergency. So that's the basics. Let's go ahead and do some intros, please, into the chat. I would love to hear your name, where you're calling from, and one word about how you feel right now. So, for example, I'm going to say this rather than put it in the chat, but I'm Margaret. I'm calling in from Brooklyn, and one word about how I'm feeling is... Okay, I'm going to cheat and do two. Excited and also tired. All right, so we've got optimistic, frustrated, overwhelmed, screw Trump, that's a funny one, encouraged, uncertain. It sounds like a lot of people are calling in from California. That makes sense. Overloaded. Oh, Oregon. Welcome, Richard. Fearful of the future. All right, so great. We're warming up our talking about feelings muscles. All right, so at this point in 2020, I think it's starting to be obvious to more and more people, I know all of us, but that we're in an emergency situation. The climate is an emergency, as you all know, given the wildfire season you've been having, and the storms that keep slamming into the Gulf Coast, and another one coming now. And yeah, I mean, whatever. I'm not going to list all of the devastating climate events that have recently happened in the United States, in the global South, and everywhere. But then there's also the democracy emergency here in the United States, you know, the GOP threatening to steal the election, the coronavirus emergency, the economic emergency that has come with the coronavirus emergency, which is just exacerbating the inequality emergency. You know, the lowest paid workers are the ones who are suffering the most and losing their jobs. So with all of these emergencies happening, obviously it can be really overwhelming on an emotional and personal level, especially in the United States, where there's all this pressure to be happy-go-lucky and not a lot of tolerance for painful feelings. Climate is particularly challenging to engage with because, well, I think for a couple of reasons, but One is definitely because it's brought to us by scientists and has been kind of relegated to the science part of our brains for years, right? It's in the science section in newspapers. More and more that's changing, but this is, you know, it's kind of considered a scientific phenomenon, and many people feel that in order to have any kind of standing in the conversation, in the political conversation, in the movement conversation, whatever, they feel that they need to basically like get a master's degree in climate science, and maybe they don't know enough, like that kind of intellectual knowledge barrier is, I think, very real. And so I want to talk about it like a different way of engaging outside of the kind of PowerPoint, parts per million, hyper intellectual approach, which is emotional, right? That we all are living on this planet. We're all experiencing this emergency, and we all have every right to have feelings about it, very strong feelings, and to have political opinions, and to join a social movement. The science has brought this phenomenon, it's explained it to us, which is great, but it does not dictate our reaction, our emotional reaction. And I'm afraid to say that even within the climate movement, there's some ideas, I'm sure you've probably been exposed to them, or many of you, ideas like, well, we have to present a hopeful and optimistic story. We can't make people afraid because fear doesn't work as a motivator. So we need to keep it light, keep it, empowering. And so I think that kind of guidance is pretty misguided for a lot of reasons. And one is that it can kind of shut down the kind of conversations that I want to instigate today, that if we aren't supposed to feel fear or despair or rage or whatever, like how do we talk about it? How do we deal with those feelings when we in fact have them? So instead of that kind of censorious approach to emotions, I suggest and write about the way of relating to your emotions, of welcoming them and non-judgmentally accepting and exploring them with self-compassion, right? These feelings are okay. They make sense. They're reasonable. There's no self-judgment about your feelings. And by doing this, by feeling, naming, and especially sharing with other people our painful feelings, we can build emotional muscle that makes us more capable of dealing with extremely challenging situations in the future. Movements need passion, right? You cannot have a successful social movement with intellect alone, right? When we look at, for example, the movement for Black lives and racial justice across the country, that is a level of passionate intensity that the climate movement has to look at with, I think, respect, admiration, and like how, the need to amp it up in terms of our own passion. So in this session, I invite you to participate as a whole human. You can please do take off actually, your expert analytical hat and put on your emotional, social, human hat. Okay, so without further ado, the next prompt is a writing prompt. So ideally, I would say grab pen and paper. You can do this on your screen, but maybe it's a good chance to not look at a screen for 2 seconds. Okay, so oh great, we got a journaling prompt. All right, so we're gonna have 3 minutes to write on this. How are you feeling in this time of converging crises? And particularly, make sure to write down, and you can even underline them to make sure you've got it, 2 emotion words, right? Rage, shame, grief, anger, terror, whatever. There's a lot of different emotional words, but this is just to make really sure that we don't stay in that intellectual zone. So, all right, 3 minutes for this prompt.
Everyone, you have about 1 minute left, so begin to finish up your thoughts.
All right. So apologies if you haven't totally finished up, but I hope you got a good chunk of writing in anyway. So we're now going to go to breakout groups. You will be in a group with 3 other people, 4 people total, and we're going to be in the breakout room for 12 minutes. So what we're going to do in the breakout groups is each person will have 3 minutes, or up to 3, like you say 2 to 3, to share what you wrote. You don't have to read it word for word, but to share based on that. This is about compassionate listening, and then sharing your own story. There is refrain from crosstalk, and most importantly, there is absolutely no need to criticize or push back on someone's sharing. That's their experience, and to create emotional safety for everyone, we need to make really clear this is people can have a different experience, and yeah, it's about listening, not about like finding agreement or something like that. So everyone will have a chance to share. You can pass, but I encourage you to try sharing. I would also encourage people, if possible, to turn on their video for the breakout room so you can see the small group. So we'll start this momentarily. There'll be 12 minutes. So then we'll be coming back to this room at right around 8 or in your time, 5:40, maybe 5:41. So just please watch the clock and make sure that people are staying on time under 3 minutes. There is an ask for help button. Where does that appear, Jessie Ann?
It'll be at the bottom of your screen, I think around where it says reactions. You shouldn't miss it. It should be pretty obvious, but yeah, at the bottom right of your screen.
All right, so there's that. If you need help, Jessie Ann and I will jump in and do so. And finally, I just want to reiterate, focus on feelings. This is about what you feel, not what you think. So if you start to get into any kind of weeds about energy policy or just come back to those feeling words. And yeah, that's it. Let's dive in. So you're being offered a breakout room. Please click join breakout room. So somebody just entered the waiting room for the meeting. Can we get them in a breakout? Or they won't even know what to do even, maybe.
Yeah, we can always talk with them here. For everyone else who's still in the main room, I'm seeing Elizabeth, Lois, Mark, Holly, and Kim. Do you have problems entering a breakout room? If you want to unmute and let me know, we can figure out what's going on. Hi, Scott. Welcome.
Thank you for the welcome.
We could. Oh, sorry.
I need to go to gallery view so I can see everybody.
So all right. So I know Meryl is one of the hosts, but are these other people? They should be in breakouts, right? Or should we do one here?
Yeah, we could do one here. People who are still in this room, Elizabeth, Holly, Mark, Kim, and Lois. Can you hear me?
Yeah, are you guys like present? I'm gonna unmute them.
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you get a notification about a waiting room or a breakout room?
Yes, I'm kind of doing something while I'm listening.
Okay.
So it's for a customer.
Okay, no, that's fair. Just wanted to make sure you weren't having any issues.
Yeah. Thanks.
We could talk with the people who are here. Margaret?
Yeah, so sorry, but who is here that wants to share? Like, are the people who are here like in similar kind of situation? Like,
I would imagine, because I asked a minute ago as well and they didn't answer, so I would guess it might be a similar sort of thing.
Yeah,
just want to listen. So
all right, well, I guess I'll share, and then
we should get Scott up to speed first. That's what we're doing here.
We are sharing our climate feelings in a non-judgmental way, and we just did a writing prompt about them, and now we're sharing them for up to 3 minutes each.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry I couldn't be here till now. I was dropping off our ballots actually at,
wonderful.
at a drop box. So.
You'll get it. I'll go first, and then we can see if anyone else who heard the first part can go, and then so it's fine. So yeah, one of the big things for me that I've been feeling recently is just like so small. I feel so small and insignificant compared to these events that are unfolding, the Trump administration getting coronavirus, which, seems to be really helping the election prospects. But it's not, I mean, but again, my feeling is just like, where do I fit into this? For so many years, for 6 years, I have been working at the climate mobilization and very, very focused, very confident, and I think really doing great work, like having a big impact. But with God, 2020, man, with the pandemic and the election, I I'm sorry to say, I don't have the kind of clarity and confidence that I once had, and I'm really struggling with feeling like, I'm still trying, I'm still doing my best, but I feel really small.
I
Um,
definitely could sympathize with that.
Wait.
It happened about 5 days ago for me. Same thing. I started feeling really small too. I don't know how else to describe it. Lack of self-confidence, adequacy, that sort of thing. And I'm not quite sure why it hit 5 days ago when things are looking maybe a little more possibly up for you also, Margaret, or not? I mean, the prospect of things.
Scott, would you like to share more about how you're feeling, or yeah?
Tough to put into words. Thank you for asking that. I really more meant to sympathize with what you were saying, because I was feeling similar, and I was surprised that someone else was feeling that just recently. So,
so sorry. So that's great. So let me ask Jessie Ann. Do you wanna share, and maybe we've got 5 more minutes, so maybe we'll see about other people who are in this room, and then okay.
They want to share, they're welcome.
Yeah, maybe Elizabeth is coming on to share. Oh no, she's just joining, isn't she?
Well, she was on before. I think she was frozen before. Elizabeth, can you hear us?
Yeah, I just now was able to get in. I got kicked out for a moment.
Oh no.
I don't know.
So Elizabeth, would you like to share, or would someone else in this main room like to share, or should we hear from Jessie Ann?
I can share if you'd like.
Yes, please.
Yeah, please do.
Yeah, I just feel worried. I'm upset, mad. I'm very frustrated. I have never been so frustrated in my life, and I'm very disappointed with a lot of the people and government, and I'm in disbelief as to why more people are not doing something about this, and not clearly seeing it's a crisis. And that frustrates me that just not everybody's on board. It's hard for me to understand that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jessie Ann?
Yes, I'm on mute. Yeah, I don't know. The past couple of weeks have been weird. So I live in Canada, in Ontario, and generally, like our response to the coronavirus has been better than the Americans' response. But in the past 2 weeks, like my province has completely gone downhill. Some parts of neighborhoods in my city have a 10% positivity rate on COVID tests. Like it's just, I don't know. And it just goes into like an overall frustration that I have that the government clearly knows that something is going wrong, not just with COVID, but with the climate and so many other things, but has essentially just sat by and said, we refuse to do this. And those neighborhoods that have the 10% positivity rates are, primarily Black or other people of color, people who work in low wage jobs, who can't afford to take time off work. And it's horrific to see our numbers be higher than what they were at the height of the coronavirus, and yet, sorry, at the height of the first wave, and nothing is being done. And then it just, sorry, I need to focus on my feelings. So what that makes me feel is like angry and like kind of despairing. Like, this crisis is so real and it is happening right now. And the climate crisis, I know for a lot of us, it's different for you guys on the West Coast, often feels very far away. And it's like, if the government can't even get it together for a crisis that is happening right now in front of us, like, yeah. So yeah, I feel definitely like, yeah, despair is probably the best word.
Thank you, Jessie Ann. Who would like to go next?
I would like to say something, but my wife, Nikki, is in the same room in another breakout room, and I have a feeling that we're bleeding audio from her discussion into ours. So can you guys hear me clearly? Can you hear
Yeah, we're
her?
okay.
Okay. A lot of what everybody's saying is really resonating with me. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna pass.
If you want to type it into the chat, Meryl, we can also we can read it out for you.
Maybe next time, but I'll just go ahead and pass for now. I'm about to give people the 1 minute warning.
Yes, of course.
Right. Okay, so on that tight timeline, Holly, is that are you wanting to share?
I think Holly said that they just wanted to listen.
Oh, okay. Oh, thank you. So
there we go. Because they wrote in the chat, somewhat helpless, doing what I can to improve nearby neighborhoods and in my family and in the world. Challenged but hopeful.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Holly.
So Scott, you want to share a bit more?
Yeah. Jessie Ann, so we live in California. Merrill does too. He actually lives near me. I didn't know he was going to be here, but it became more real for us when I was at our small cabin in the mountains of California, and I got the evacuation warning first of all, and then the mandatory evacuation, and the fire, the largest fire in California's history, went through our small cabin community of 102 cabins and homes at 1:30 in the morning on September 13th. So we had no idea whether or not there'd be anything left, and we did not have insurance because our last insurers were Lloyd's of London, because insurance in such a place is really horrendous. And we watched over the last 10 years our trees in the area. We're actually in a sequoia grove, a giant sequoia grove.
I'm sorry, Scott. I'm so sorry to interrupt, but we're getting back all of the other participants. So I think I gotta convene. But yeah, that sounds incredibly intense. So thank you for partially sharing.
What did we miss? We missed something there.
So now, and maybe Scott can get another chance in this next round. Now, welcome back, everyone. Thank you for giving that a try in the breakout rooms. I hope it was meaningful. So I'd like to share a few of these with the larger group. So I'd like to hear from 3 people who would like to share their feelings with the larger group. It doesn't have to be exactly what you shared with your breakout, but something along those lines. So you can raise your hand in the
Here, I'll screen share. I have an explanation of this because it's a little complicated.
All
This
right.
is how you can raise your hand if you would like to share with the larger group. Oops.
On Zoom. Oh. Yeah,
So click the participants button at the bottom of your screen and then click on the little hand button, and that will show Margaret that you would like to share.
All right, I'm not seeing any yet. I don't know whether that is because possibly people don't know how to use this. All right, I see a thumbs up reaction.
Oh, it looks like Justin Lowry.
We got Justin, and then who gave me that thumbs up?
I don't know.
Oh, and maybe Barbara is raising her hand. Oh, and Shawl. All right, great. So that's 3. Okay, so let's do that. Justin, Shawl, Barbara.
Right. So what do you want us to share? Just some of what we shared in the small group?
Yep.
So about climate, I put feeling desperate, anxious, alone, isolated, hopeful in the face of adversity, but mostly separated from friends and family who are all kind of deniers on this and don't want to talk about it. So I think the aloneness is probably the big one on that. Should I talk about some of the other ones or just kind of pass on to the next person?
Either way. That's great. What you shared so far is great.
For democracy, I put nervous, cynical, which I don't like to admit. And I'm kind of afraid that this could be the end of the United States as a world power and a pleasant or safe place to live without radical intervention and change. And I think we need that. Fascism, I put disgusted with what I see of it, and alarmed as a former history major that my friends and family cannot see clear parallels to previous fascism rises in history and how they're just marching along chanting Sieg Heil, while Hitler rises to power. And it's like, come on guys, snap out of it.
Yeah.
Then COVID, I put alone, not as nervous about the virus, much more nervous about others' behavior and rejection of science. Like I mentioned, my wife's at a party right now with no social distancing or masks because her family doesn't believe in the virus. So stuff like that. And then she comes home and I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to get sick? What's going to happen? And her school also, she's a teacher. Her school reconvened because they're a private school and they can get away with it. And so they brought all the kids back and I'm like, oh my goodness.
So Justin, thank you so much for sharing. And I just want to highlight, you talked about feeling alone in almost every one of those categories. And I know for people who understand the climate emergency, feeling alone can be such a huge part of the experience, because it's just like, what do you guys not understand? Are we living on a different planet, or like what? And so anyway, it's one reason why having this kind of conversation can be helpful, because you're not alone, though it sure can feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Barbara.
So I would say for all these problems, I'm kind of on one side frustrated and on the other side hopeful. So frustrated that, it's hard to do anything, especially COVID. We're kind of stuck, and hopeful on the other hand that everything will change, COVID and climate change and everything. For instance, I'm not in that bad situation that most of the people I'm having talking around me are seeing the climate change. This group, or also in other discussion groups, if it comes up, you feel that they are not like the how do you say, the unenlightened. So I always have a pretty good experience. But on the other hand, of course, we are totally preaching to the choir here. And it just happened to me that I talked to my next door neighbor, and yes, there are people who don't understand this stuff at all yet. It's like they think it's all the same. He said, oh yeah, because we were talking of hurricanes and big. Yeah, they were there before. There was a hurricane in 1904 and in the 40s somewhere and stuff. I say, well, now there are lots more and a lot bigger and stuff. yeah, no. So whatever I mean, I was thinking afterwards, I should have like a little booklet where I have all the charts and stuff, because it's like, oh yeah, no, that was before. And you say, oh yeah, and the ocean rises. I mean, it just doesn't faze them.
And how does that make you feel?
Well, as I say, frustrated, right? And I'm trying to think, oh, I should yeah, as much, do more if possible. I mean, okay, the government is not doing anything right now. I mean, I'm still hoping that the government changes, and I'm also seeing we are all adults. We can do something. We don't need somebody to tell us what to do, I think. And I mean, there are enough people in Europe and stuff who also see it and do something. On the other hand,
I'm sorry, Barbara, I'm gonna have to stop you, but thank you.
No, I just have one thing.
Okay.
Because you said in the very beginning about feelings. Well, those people who don't understand, they are definitely don't have a feeling of being afraid, because they are just happy-go-lucky. Oh, it's fine. It works, you know?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it is very so I wonder whether they have the feeling somewhere and they're burying it, or as you say, they just don't have it at all, or they're underreacting, and it is incredibly frustrating. Thank you. Shaul, how about you? What are you feeling?
So it was funny and interesting that you mentioned Black Lives Matter as a comparison, because last Friday we started a small climate protest in Temecula, and it's a very conservative community. The first week we did it, there were 6 of us. And so we arrived to the same spot last week and last Friday, and there were already people there. There was a Black Lives Matter protest, a small group, maybe 20 people. And so I decided that we're gonna not mix the messages. We're just going to join the Black Lives Matter movement that was already a protest that was already there. And definitely some feelings came up doing that, especially because we didn't have sign. I ended up holding the Black Lives Matter flag, but I think you're absolutely right about the passion. And I was thinking about it, and I had the chance to talk about it with people and explore some of the feelings that came up, that they're passionate because it's about their lives. It's about it's about their kids' lives. And we are, mostly white educated people. We're well trained not to have feelings, but this is what it's about. It's about the future lives of our kids. It's about the future of beautiful natural environments that we love and appreciate. And it's time for us to be angry and feel the grief and put those. And from my experience, take action and then deal with the feelings, because they will come up.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I'm in agreement about the political, we can turn those feelings into political change, but only if we allow ourselves to really engage with them. So yeah, thank you. All right, my friends, we are a little bit behind schedule, but we'd like to get through one more small group discussion, one more breakout room. So we're going to do a writing prompt, one more writing prompt, and then one more breakout, and then we'll come back and conclude. All right, so grab your pen and paper. Actually, sorry, I missed, I'm going to say a couple of comments on just wrapping up the section we did, and then we'll do this. Our feelings are part of who we are. Things are not going to get better extremely quickly. Like we're in this time of emergency for quite a while now. So getting as comfortable as we can with those feelings and identifying them and sharing them, it makes us stronger and it makes our movement stronger. So yeah, thank you all for taking part in that right now. Okay, back to the writing prompt. Thank you. All right, so now we're going to talk about talking about the climate emergency. So the prompts are, who have you talked to about the climate emergency this month? So it's October 8th. So in the last 8 days, who have you talked to? How did the conversations go? What worked? What didn't work? How did the conversation make you feel? If you didn't talk to anyone, why not? And either way, what barriers kept you from talking with more people? So we're just going to do 3 minutes for this writing prompt.
All right, you have about a minute left.
All right, Meryl, as you go to send people into the breakout rooms, let's give them 8 minutes. So in your group of 4, everyone can share for 2 minutes. And I think we can go ahead and do that right now. At the end, we'll come back here. So go ahead and join your breakout room, everyone, and I'll see you soon. Thanks so much.
Margaret, I'm not sure how to join the breakout room.
Did you get something that said an invitation that said join or no?
No.
Perhaps because they weren't in the last one.
I think that's what's happened here. Yeah, Meryl, is it possible for you to send some of the folks here right now into breakout rooms? You might be able to assign them individually.
I
says
will
on my
give that
screen
a
now.
try. Let's take a look.
We talked a little bit about climate change. I brought it up. I'm usually the one to bring up things like that among people I know.
No, I don't see.
But this prompt made me think about.
I don't see where I can actually assign them to a breakout room.
Let's do the same. Let's do the same thing we did last time and just have a little room here.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
But then there's so many people I know who are like.
But I can, Meryl, hear your wife talking. So if you could mute, thank you. All right. Well, welcome back, some people, and welcome, breakout room exiles. Would anyone share with the group about their experience talking about the climate emergency in the last 8 days? You can go, if you do want to, you can just go ahead and unmute and go ahead and share. Or okay.
Can you hear me? Would you like me to share?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay, I can share. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I joined the North County Climate Change Alliance, is because they're like my peeps. I feel like I can talk to everyone and they understand what I'm feeling, and they're with me politically, and I don't have to worry about saying anything that might insult anyone or anything like that. But when I get around people that are, follow the Trump cult, or, just do not believe that there's a climate change, they think that, they can just rake a few leaves up and things like this. And I just get so frustrated and I get mad, and my temper, I don't know what it is. I just don't do well. And I wish I could be more calm. And I have a difficult time with that. And so what I tend to do is not talk about it, especially if it's somebody. Most of my friends are within my same belief, even though I've known them for 50 years or whatever. But there's some friends that I've known that are not, and I just tend to not discuss it at all, because I'm afraid there'll be a friendship lost. I have 3 friends that I'm having issues with on that. And one I haven't even spoken to in the past 6 months just because of this.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Clearly, it's really at the heart of some of your relationships. And that sounds challenging, but it's also, I really appreciate you trying to have some of these conversations. Would someone else like to share?
I think I have similar experiences to Elizabeth. I tend to avoid the subject with anybody who's not as passionate. And there's not a lot of people that are as passionate about climate crisis. However, they're good people. And I believe that they're non-Trumpsters, for instance, and against that completely. But I think they need the lead of the government to be saying, oh, this is how we address it. And until they hear that they don't know how to approach it. And that's frustrating. So I don't know if that part is similar for you, Elizabeth, but I definitely can commiserate with that. Some people I just wouldn't even begin to talk with it. It's most of our friends, actually. I wouldn't talk with it about, because they would see me as just harping on it. And, that I might suggest things they could do to personally try or politically. So I don't.
And I wanted to just say one other thing is like at work for me, there would be people that would just be drinking at home. They're working at home. I'm on a WebEx, and they're drinking out of like a plastic bottle. And I called out a couple people and I got in trouble for it, but I'm also on like this green team at work. But it just blows my mind that it's just, and also most of the people that I'm with are really into climate change and are with me on this and the crisis and everything. But anyway, that's a problem for me, is that during my meetings, I eyeball what people are doing. Somebody has like straws, and they're in there, just different things. They're eating out of a styrofoam thing, and I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I'm seeing that, and it's just, and I get mad, and I actually, some people I just don't like because of it. I don't know.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that's, I mean, yeah, that's very real. Would anyone else like to share about their experience talking with others, or also what holds them back from talking with others about the climate emergency? I'm going to mention, while I'm waiting for the next person, though we're running out of time, that I realize that I have stopped talking about the climate with my younger brother, because he has since he and his wife got pregnant, they have a little baby, and it's just, God. So it's like, yeah, I've just kind of we used to talk about it and we don't anymore. So that's, I don't know if that I should try to kind of push through that a little bit, but I guess the barrier is both wanting to protect the relationship, but also just worrying like, oh, he's gonna be so sad,
Yeah, I feel that. I have trouble talking to my friends who are planning to have children because of the same reason. I'm like, how much do I want to terrify them?
Yeah. It's among my friends, a lot of people have little babies or toddlers and something, and it definitely adds an element of let's just say pain and challenge to the conversations. They might feel judged, they might feel despair, they might feel regret, like it's
Thanks for sharing the Exile breakout room group.
Yes, ad hoc breakout room here. Very nice.
Yeah, Mark said fear of being a Debbie Downer. I think a lot of us can probably relate to that.
Oh, absolutely. All right, so people are coming back a little bit gradually, it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
All right, could we call them all back?
Yeah, those rooms they should be closed by now.
There we go. Great.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Welcome back, everyone. And thank you for sharing in your breakout rooms. We're a little bit over time, but so I'd like to hear two short shares from people who think who would like to share with the larger group about their conversations or obstacles to that. So hands, either you can do it, I can see some of the videos, or you can put it in the participant box.
Looks like we have Skip Curtis and Elizabeth Wilson. I think we're the first two to put their hands up.
All right. Skip.
Okay, thank you. In our group, there was the sense of frustration that when you communicating with people that don't agree with your position, that it makes it, it's just frustrating, and you can't understand why they are not seeing your position. And of course, at some level, we have to accept that we're living in a world of differing opinions, and that we have to accommodate that, so we don't become overly frustrated with other people's difference of opinion.
Thanks, Skip. Yeah, that is absolutely challenging and very frustrating. Sorry, Jesse, and who is next?
Elizabeth Wilson.
Okay. Yeah, hi. So part something, a little bit more positive. People have had frustrations with, friends and neighbors, but am I echoing? Can you hear this okay? Anyway, I have a daughter who's an environmentalist, and she gives me a lot of tips. And then what I do is, tell these to my friends. Some of them are Trump supporters and mostly not. But anyway, I think, some of these positive tips I've been given, some people are actually doing it and they're excited to hear about it. So I think even the people that are deniers, you can still impart some positive things on them. So I guess what I want to I hear a lot of frustration in the group too. And, in our group, there was a young person. And I feel like we have to not always be so negative and not hopeful. But like if we add some little ideas and maybe slowly try to help people join in the more positive things, like taking your bags to your groceries, or like I was telling the group, make a big batch of yogurt rather than buying all the containers, or just small things that if you talk to your friends about, even climate denier friends might actually think, oh, that's a good idea, without having to really think, oh yeah, we're not doing anything for the climate. I don't just.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Thank you. Nikki, I see you have your hand up. Could we hear from you briefly?
Hi, yeah. Okay. Can you all hear me all right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So our group was frustrated about the amount of time that one person had to spend convincing people, and it's very exhausting. Another person was rather frustrated with the number of people who continue to fly without concern for the environment. My husband and I no longer fly for two somewhat different reasons, but nonetheless, we don't fly. And, I don't talk to people about the climate anymore. I'm in a very angry state. I've gone through various, grief and all this other stuff. Anyway, I've remained in the anger very long now, and I don't have time for other people. If they're not doing something, they're wasting my time. You're either in or you're out. And my orbit is very small. So I'm anger all day, every day.
Thank you. Very reasonable, understandable. A lot to be angry about. So yeah, thanks for sharing that. Okay, so it's time to close out this section anyway. I think our hosts might have a few other announcements, but in closing, I hope that this conversation has convinced you that talking about climate emotionally is an approach that can work and that can kind of unlock people in a different way than maybe normal. So I would ask everyone moving forward from this to talk to 3 people about the climate emergency from an emotional place. Say, I feel this way. And then say, and what do you feel? What do you see? What do you think the future holds? What do you, and, we've spoken about how sometimes these conversations can go wrong and, can be really tough. But I also just want to emphasize that they can really, really go right as well. And especially when you lead from the heart, I guarantee you will find some people who say, oh my gosh, I thought I was the only one, or thank you for asking, and actually bring the relationship closer. rather than farther away. Also, just if somebody doesn't want to talk about it, or has a somewhat prickly reaction, you never know that whether in a few days or a few weeks, they might still be processing this. You might still impact someone, even if it doesn't feel like a home run right off the bat. Okay, so I want to put in a plug for, my book, Facing the Climate Emergency, How to Transform Yourself with Climate Truth. This is a self-help book using my psychology and activism skills together. Oh, great. Jessie Ann just shared a link in the chat where at facingtheclimateemergency.com, everyone can see the first chapter. You can download the first chapter to see whether that's going to be something, whether it's your cup of tea, let's say. And yeah, a lot of, I don't mean to, self-aggrandize, but we've gotten a lot of really good reader feedback. People who said, this book helped me and I'm getting more involved now, and it's clarified things and so forth. So I really encourage you to read it, because I think it might be able to help you. And it's also good to share with other people. It can be a good way to bridge some of the relationship gaps that we've talked about. Okay, so and final thing that I want to say is so I'm putting another link. Oh no, I'm putting a final link in the chat where this is a little different, but so I recently have become a blogger at Psychology Today. I'm doing an advice column for people regarding all of their climate emergency issues, right? Relationship issues. Should I have kids? I'm feeling burnt out as an activist, whatever it is, but I need more questions. So if you go to this form and input a question, what you want to ask a climate psychologist, that would be very helpful to me. And 2 people who do that will get a free book. So please consider that. All right, Meryl, that's it. That's it for me. Thanks again, everyone. And
Margaret, can I say something real quick? When you think that your influence is not great, I live in San Diego. I've never been to New York. And I got your book and I think it's great. And Colleen too, I guess it's just me and Colleen. We have a mobilization here, and we have at 10:30 a.m. on Saturdays a Zoom. And if you went to the, should I quit talking?
No, it's very.
If you went to the Colleen's the Green Center. If you went to the Green Center, Colleen, where are you? Green Center website. It says. It gives the time of the meeting, the mobilization.
Thanks, Bill. We will give some information about climate mobilization in the follow-up email, because it's really important to acknowledge that Dr. Salamon helped start that, right? And it's easy to forget that there aren't that many of these movements that have started and been around and been doing this work and organizing people. And so we owe a debt of gratitude to Dr. Salamon, in addition to coming and talking with us tonight, and really getting something kickstarted before a lot of us were even, knowing what to do about all this. So I very much appreciate that. I did want to share something. I don't know. I hope you all can see this. So Dr. Salamon, we purchased a tree in your honor, and so we'll be sending you this certificate as a memento to help you remember the time that you spent helping us process. I particularly like what you just said as one of your last tips there, which is don't be afraid to have a conversation with somebody that you feel like might not go so well, because a lot of times it is about dropping that thought into their minds and letting them process it. And we shouldn't feel like we have to finish every conversation and win every conversation. Sometimes it's about making sure that you are putting that presence back into people's minds and reminding them that we have an emergency and letting them think it through on their own time and their own terms. And I found that to be absolutely helpful. So I hope that your book is chock full of those great ideas. So thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you everybody that participated. I know that doing this interactive stuff is not comfortable for everybody. So I appreciate that everybody hopefully got out of their comfort zones a little bit and did this work, and maybe consider doing this in your other circles, right? This is not the only place where you're meeting with people. And so if you're starved for things to do and you run out of ideas on Zoom, you're done playing bridge and, having quirky intro things, talk about the climate a little bit, let people know, hey, this is something that I do in my spare time, or this is something that I'm really passionate about. Can we talk about that for a minute? And hopefully we keep building the movement.
So Carl, I would like to invite everybody to look us up on Facebook, and we have a wonderful forum there, and that would be a great place for you guys all to jump in with your thoughts and get some practice talking about these different issues. So please look us up.
Absolutely, and be mindful of the fact that we do have an alliance meeting where we get folks from all these different organizations in the area coming and representing and talking together. And so if you're looking for a place where you can volunteer, where you can get your voice heard, where you can get some of this anxiety released in action, we encourage you to come and join with us. We will put you to work. We will find a place where you can do this work, even in times of COVID. There are legislators out there that are doing their work, and we're here to go disrupt their work and make sure they're paying attention to this emergency. So again, thank you, everybody. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Jesse Ann, for joining us tonight. This is fantastic, and we look forward to seeing all of you at our next meeting.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. Solidarity.
Solidarity.
Thanks for letting me crash the party. Thanks for letting me join the party.